your chat here, Ameer, that are skeptical that Bitcoin will ever become money and that they prefer gold. Few people.
Okay, so one, I don't even like comparing those two together because both of them have different properties and features. The thing with gold, yeah, most people bring up this conversation when it comes to supply and demand, as we see in the chat as well. So yeah, gold roughly we know supply, but we don't know 100% because new mines can be discovered, and no different than what De Beers does with the diamond industry. They can control the supply of gold and production. Also, not to mention, is if we find an asteroid out there that has unforeseen amounts of gold, which transforms the supply as well. So the supply dynamics is very different than Bitcoin, where we know for a fact what we're getting and when the issuance is going to be. But the conversation as a whole, trying to compare those two, I don't see why we're even fighting and arguing. I think they're quite beneficial for both each other. Like, I don't know why people say, why is it so binary? Like, why is it I can only have gold or only have Bitcoin? I just don't understand.
You know, it's funny. The guy that got me into Bitcoin was this dude, David or Da Vinci Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always, like, people had been asking me, and I forgot about this for years. And then I finally remembered it was actually a video. I was trying to get gold. So I was an entrepreneur. I think I shared this before on your podcast, where I kind of earned some money doing this Facebook game business. I got some wealth doing that, and that's when I started going down the rabbit hole of like, okay, I don't need all this money. I should diversify. And so I started looking into money a bit more and realized that I got to get some gold, because this dollar thing keeps being inflated, and it's an invisible tax. It's just going to inflate away all my wealth if I keep it in cash and dollars. So I started looking into gold, and I started learning about the value of gold throughout history and why the gold-backed dollar was better than the fiat dollar and all that stuff, right? So this guy starts doing these videos on digital gold. This was 2011. Bitcoin at the time was like $1 or something like that. I found him a few months later, or 6 months later, whatever. It was like $5 when he was talking about, you know, you got to buy some Bitcoin. It's digital gold. So I was getting some silver. I was getting some gold. And then this dude starts talking about digital gold and how he's mining it with his computer and all this stuff. And I was just so excited. So I got some digital gold, and this dude just put up a video on his Instagram like a week ago of him selling all of his gold. Like, he brought in like $1 million worth of gold to the bank and sold it all and bought Bitcoin with it at like 15K a couple of weeks ago. Did I send you that video yet?
No.
You should play it, man. It's pretty funny.
How long is it? We'll play it.
Oh, it's not long. It's just like a few minutes long of him going into the bank and selling the gold. I think that dude's right. Like, gold is a valuable thing. It's never not going to be valuable. It's just that gold is a $7 trillion market cap right now, $7-8 trillion. Bitcoin's like a 300 billion market cap. So this guy that's been investing in gold for almost 2 decades sees the value of Bitcoin way more than his gold. So there he is with all
the gold.
Yeah, he had 10 kilograms worth of gold that he had accumulated. Wow. And he was just like, this shit's too heavy for me to carry around anymore. I'm just going to sell it for Bitcoin. Why do I need all this gold?
10 kilos, huh? Gold
it was
price.
Like, in Canadian dollars, I think it was $1 million.
$1 million, eh?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, Bitcoin has all of the properties of gold, except one extra one, that it's natively digital.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that it doesn't have is that it's not been used as money for 5,000 years. So that's why Bitcoin is only 300 billion. Like, I did a survey recently, maybe 6 months ago or whatever, where I asked people of different age demographics that Ron Paul question of, if you were given $10,000 and you had to hold it for 10 years, would you take it in stocks, gold, Bitcoin, or cash? And the majority of the people chose cash and gold.
Cash
and gold, yeah, at the beginning of the survey. And then I went through the 17 sort of questions to ask them follow-up questions, like, well, why do you think, or how much do you think if you had, what was the question? The first question was like, if you had $1,000 in 20 years ago, do you think it would buy you $1,000 worth of stuff today? And everybody was like, yeah, of course. And then I'd show them the data. Well, actually, the inflation rate is so and so, and the purchasing power of that dollars has gone down to 800. So you know, $1,000 saved over 10 years is actually only worth $800 in purchasing power, where 1 ounce of gold has held its value, and you can still get 1 ounce of gold's worth of stuff in 10 years. So then you had a little bit more people sort of drop off the cash answer. And, you know, you keep asking them, keep educating them, and they realize after the full gamut of information about how bad stocks have done comparative to their purchasing power, to the dollar, and how poorly the dollar has held its value over 100 years. Like, the majority of people thought that the dollar gained purchasing power over the last 100 years. They thought that 100 years ago, if you had money in the bank, that you could buy more things with it today. So people just generally aren't aware of how quickly the purchasing power of dollars is eroding. And at the end of the survey, the majority of the people chose Bitcoin and gold at the end. So it was only like like 10% or something chose Bitcoin at the first time they were given the option to get this free $10,000 gift. And then at the end, it was Bitcoin and gold. And the biggest change was in boomers. They went from gold to Bitcoin.
Wow, really?
Because boomers, that's contrary to this belief that boomers are just a lost cause and we should just be focused on Gen X and Gen Z and Gen.
No. Side note, I finally convinced my mom. I showed her how bad her RSPs are and how she gets no returns, and she's not a money person, you know, just works hard, etc. Coming up retirement. Actually, sorry, just retired. She's retired last year. And I finally told him, like, and I took out her portfolio, and her guy at the bank was talking, and I'm like, this guy's a schmuck, and he's an idiot, doesn't know anything. Like, this guy's paid for you to keep your money there. He's a fucking moron. And I just showed her like the standard interest rates she's getting, and then she's like, and it kind of finally hit her. She's like, oh. And then she, for the longest, like, she knows that I'm in crypto, and then I'm like, there's better things out there.
Nice. Yeah, with education, with proper education on the way money works and the financial system and the previous history of, like, one of the big things was, like, if you had invested in the S&P 500 in the 1970s and you held it until now, you got like a 32x or something on your returns. Like, you're way up in dollars, right? But when you actually measure the drop in the purchasing power of dollars since the 1970s until now, you're only up 3x in purchasing power. So the dollar has lost, then that's like 4% a year. So people who think they made so much money in the stock market, they got a 32x in 50 years, they actually only got like a 3x, and they're only making 4% a year. While meanwhile, gold has held its value all through this time, and gold is likely to continue to hold its value. It's just that Bitcoin is likely to go up 50x if it competes with gold. If it's going to be, you know, gold is probably going to go up 2 to 3x over the next 10 years because there's going to be a flight to scarcity and scarce assets. If Bitcoin keeps up the pace with gold and becomes 20 trillion market cap like gold in, say, 10 years, that's almost like an 80x. So for that reason, it's like, it's so attractive for younger people that are inheriting wealth, like you're saying earlier, the generational wealth transfer, the $60 trillion wealth transfer that's happening. Man, young people don't natively grok gold like they natively grok Bitcoin. Like they just feel naturally drawn to Bitcoin. That's what my survey showed. Like, it was the millennials and the Gen Zs that chose Bitcoin at the beginning, and they even chose Bitcoin way more at the end. But even boomers chose Bitcoin once they realized that Bitcoin wasn't as big as they thought. Most people think they know a lot about the markets, and that was represented in the survey too. People answered, yes, I know about this. Or
where's the survey? Is this public? People can see this?
Yeah, I wrote about it on my my Medium. I could post it to you.
Yeah, post it.
But that was the most interesting thing too, is that rich people felt that they knew more about the markets than they actually did. So they would answer confidently, and they were wrong more than poor people. So rich people thought they knew what was going on, but they were wrong more than poor people. And poor people were more likely to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. So that was another interesting thing, because a lot of the rich people felt that the dollar gained purchasing power, and like stocks was the best
Really?
investment. Yeah, man. Like lots of rich people just don't have a clue about the value of Bitcoin. People, like lots of people felt
I'm
that.
very curious. Are these like, when you define rich, we're talking like like multi-millionaire rich, or like upper middle class rich? Like, what are we talking about?
Upper middle class, like millionaire, not like billionaire rich.
Self-made, would you say?
I didn't get that far into it. I just posted you the link there. That was the biggest thing, man, is that like people felt like they missed Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like Bitcoin was already as valuable as gold, and it was already up there with gold. And like, why would I get Bitcoin when it's already gone from $1 to $10,000? So they felt this feeling of missing it. And then when I explained to them that like actually Bitcoin is very, very small compared to like Apple's market
Well,
cap, or
you showed me a stat earlier. Actually, you didn't show me. I saw it, but in Canada we have a fund, QBTC, where Canadians can invest with their TFSA, tax-free savings account. Obviously, you don't control your bitcoins; they have it. But I think, what was it? You said like 14,000 bitcoins they have or something.
yeah, they're doing big numbers now. They're up to
Big
like,
numbers, yeah.
what's that, $300-400 million?
So that's a lot, man. And I wouldn't be surprised as more, I wouldn't say Zoomers, but millennials really don't have disposable income, so they're not really using their TFSA. So it's people who have cash who use their TFSA to invest in this QBTC fund.
Yeah, like if you're the average Canadian millennial young person or whatever, and you got TFSA room, most likely you're thinking like, why would I invest in a stock market? It's probably going to go down. It's a scam. Like you probably distrust it. Or maybe you're one of those people that are on Wall Street bets and you're like using your tax free savings room or whatever. But regardless, you should put some of your tax free savings account money into the QBTC ticker, because it's tax-free gains on Bitcoin, on the representative price of Bitcoin. Now, the strategy is don't just put it, like if you were going to get, say, one Bitcoin, don't just put it all in your tax-free savings account. I'd say like half should go into real Bitcoin, half should go into there until you've maxed that out, until what you're comfortable with, and then just accumulate real Bitcoin. You don't want to have all your Bitcoin exposure in this fund because it's not real Bitcoin. You don't have the keys. You're getting the exposure to the appreciation of the price of Bitcoin. They have the Bitcoin. So I mean, like, it's not like you can redeem
And
your shares for Bitcoin.
no, exactly. I was going to bring that up. So, and if you do sell, you're just selling it for Canadian dollar. You're not actually receiving Bitcoins.
Right. It's a exchange traded product. So it's just like trading around. People are going to buy and sell, and you don't actually redeem for Bitcoin.